Wait, make sure to actually upload this today because my friend said he'll watch it.
Which means I have to do a bonus. I'll just call it bonus episode or something.
Yeah, the world is ending. Here you go.
Which you guys all just caught that. Hello, welcome to the bonus episode. It would be episode 33, but apparently we're uploading this immediately.
Yes. There's a lot to talk about that happened within the past couple of days.
And though I am the primary host of the show and the primary ranter, Laura, the co-host, will be taking the chair as mostly primary host as I attempt to get some semblance on today and finish eating my dinner. I work late.
Yes. We also have a fellow co-hoster today. His name is Cody. Say hi.
Hi.
He's the crazy redneck from earlier.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to be going through a decent amount of topics today that have happened over the past couple of days that I've seen on the news. The first topic that we're going to be going over today is a New York City landlord made a viral TikTok about taking her tenants' packages until they pay up in rent. So basically, what that story means is this lady who thought it would be funny to make a TikTok saying, my tenant is late on rent, so I took all their packages. I'm so petty. And she got a lot of backlash for it, as deserved, because...
And they can sue her now.
Wait, I just have to ask this question. Isn't stealing somebody's mail a felony to begin with?
It is.
Yep.
And she actually got in trouble for it because a bunch of these news companies were saying, you're getting a lot of backlash from this. People are threatening to sue. People are saying, that's pretty fucking illegal. And she said, oh, it was just like a joke. He. I didn't know it was going to get so big. And I'm like, I thought jokes were supposed to be funny.
Here, let me scratch my head as I ponder why she has all the problems. Really,
Slumlord.
And, I think people don't realize that, at least on TikTok, it's not that hard to get viral. And once your TikTok does get viral, then your personal shit becomes everyone's problem. And people are probably going to start trying to sue her.
And stealing and holding their packages hostage also violates several tenant-landlord laws. Essentially, it's like them turning off your water till you pay the rent. It's illegal, and her tenants, if they sued her, could actually get more time in the place, rent-free, plus damages.
No shit.
I just couldn't believe that she was stupid enough to think that that was, something you should do.
Remember, we live in a world where Wendy's has to stop serving hamburger because there's a shortage in the supply chain while they still order all their farmers to kill all the ready-to-harvest cattle.
Okay,
Yes.
I gotta
destroy them.
I gotta jump in on this, mostly because I do know of a local farmer here that got the same summons. And what it boils down to, folks, is there isn't a food shortage. And, there are people are saying, oh, well, we're having to do this because the restaurants aren't ordering the food and the schools aren't open and stuff and whatnot. But let me ask you, did the number of people in this country somehow drastically disappear to the point where we're killing off animals to let them rot? We're letting hundreds, if not thousands of tons of produce rot in the fields.
Oh yeah.
All because the government says, or people are saying, oh, it's because the schools aren't in session, so the cafeterias aren't using it, and the restaurants change their clothes, so there's just an overall less demand. And
there is a little bit of an overall less demand because restaurants do waste a lot as opposed to other places, but restaurants around here have been busy as shit with carryout.
I was gonna say that's the same thing in Michigan.
And the drive-thrus are wrapped around. No, what it is the food processing plants are shutting down because a few people in it test positive. There's no evidence that this thing can be carried through your food to the grocery store from the meat packing plant.
Well, I tend to disagree with that because it's been proven that this virus can stay on hard surfaces.
Well, yeah, hard surfaces, and it could have gotten in the meat. But if you wash your hands properly, cook your food properly, wash it off properly.
But the thing is, just to begin with, those kind of businesses already have protocols in place for something like this.
Yeah, this is artificial. They're trying to create artificial food scarcity.
Yeah, well, it goes along with the kind of, forgive my French, but the kind of bullshit that's been going on since this whole thing started. This has been proven from other countries, such as Germany, Italy, France, England, or the United Kingdom. It's all been proven that this virus has a 99.89% survival rate, and it's actually no worse off than our common flu.
No, it was built up because the testing wasn't as available, so it looked like the death rate was higher because people who were more likely to die from it because they've been hospitalized, who are already more likely to die from it, were the only ones getting tested.
Well, let me step you back for 1 second to kind of go over something that I feel like some people already know, but when I found out about it, I was like, really? Okay, so your governor's going on about how many cases are in their state and how bad this pandemic is and yada yada yada. But and this report was confirmed by the CDC. The government was paying hospitals. Now, it doesn't say exactly how much more money it was paying the hospitals, but it's paying them more money to artificially inflate the COVID death rates by listing anything as COVID. The more COVID patients they could list as dead, the more money they could get.
Oh, yeah, and here's the thing.
What boils down to is we don't actually know what the statistics are because the statistics have been skewed so far.
Well, if you look at the CDC, they try to say open everything up, you get 200,000 new cases a day, but you only go from 1,750 deaths to 3,000 deaths. Why are you getting almost 10 times the new infections daily, but not 10 times the death rate?
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense with the statistics.
Because this virus is, like I said, no more worse than the flu.
No, but even if it's no more worse than the flu, okay, if the number of deaths remains the same in percentage-wise, then the number of infections should increase the same amount as the number of deaths percentage-wise. So if the number of new cases doubles, the numbers of deaths should double as well.
Correct.
But it's not even close to doing that. You're talking about only double the deaths with 10 times the cases. So the percentage is off on the increases.
Yeah, but because I think that
essentially I think they screwed with the math to make it look worse. And what I was trying to say is their math doesn't make sense, so I don't trust the CDC.
Well, I don't really trust them when it comes to reports about numbers and cases and whatever. But a little antecedent or anecdote or whatever you want to call it. But how many? And this is a question I've had for a while because I've noticed it around here. How many people between December and January, or even going back to November to January, had a cough
that just wouldn't go away?
Would not go away. Upper respiratory.
My mom had it. My dad's girlfriend had it. My mom's boyfriend had it.
And it wasn't. And it was. If you go to the hospital for it, it's not the flu. The flu tests come back negative. And they treat you for pneumonia. Guess what? Guess what, folks? You've had COVID.
Oh yeah.
More than likely. Just because you're hearing about it now from the government, think about it this way. When a government tells you something, the question you should automatically be asking is, what are they doing on the left or on the right, because they're obviously wanting me to look over here for some reason. What are they doing when I'm looking over here?
What they're doing when you're looking over there is violating the Constitution and the spirit of the Declaration of Independence. I hate to say it, but civil war, revolution, or outright social collapse is looking far more likely by the day if the government doesn't step back. You saw those protesters in Michigan with the arms? Wait till they get to Washington.
The thing is, and this is, I'm some might call me a right-winged conspiracy theorist, but I gotta wonder here, because it just kind of lines up. So the Democrats have been trying to get rid of Trump basically since day one. So they do his impeachment fails. A little while later a little bit of time goes by, then all of a sudden you see Epstein. Epstein breaks the news, and Pedogate, and all the elite child molesters.
And then
all of a sudden he commits suicide, and it's right on the heels of all these people, celebrities, big name people getting brought up.
Well, Epstein happened before Trump, so we do need to make sure we have the timeline accurate when we're coming up with this stuff. Granted, okay,
I apologize, but the theory is still there.
I have a much better theory. Now, get this, okay? This virus was already out there. China decided to let a doctor look like they need to be shut up. Well, now China's the center of a health crisis, and now is trying to put itself as the leader against health crisis, despite the fact they are still doing lockdowns in many places in China. They let this thing happen, maybe even leaked it out of their own biolab in order to get people to stop paying attention to Hong Kong. And when that got here to the United States, opportunists in our own government who wish power over their duty to the people decided to take action and seize the opportunity.
I will buy that to some extent, because being a resident from Michigan and keeping up on the daily news and hearing about what's going on, the protests and what have you, and the reasons for it, it's pretty simple. So our governor, when this whole thing began,
yes,
the legislative gave her emergency powers.
Yes, your Führer up there.
Well, when everything's the powers were set to expire, everything was looking like, hey, we're going to be good, we can start opening back up. Well, our governor decides, no, that's not how it's going to be.
And the legislature told her no on extending her powers much longer, and she decided to say that my powers are still extended. And I do believe your legislature's about to sue her over it.
Well, okay.
I didn't hear the suing part.
I gotta go back to this, but I will get to those points. First off, yeah, she did extend her own power. She used the night before, I think it was either the night before or the day before her executive powers were set to expire. She used her executive powers to, in effect, extend her own power,
which she can't do.
No,
even under executive power. So essentially, her orders are illegal now.
Well, there is something about a 1945 clause that was enacted in a time of war, because this was
not in a time of
World War II.
And during World War II, we had selective martial law, which is totally different.
And that went with it. But there's a loophole that she used, and that's how she used the executive powers to extend her executive powers. Because of that loophole.
Well, I hate to say it, if she doesn't back off, those armed protesters aren't going to be showing up at the Capitol building next time. They'll be showing up at the governor's office.
Well, I don't think the situation is that bad. Yes, there are a lot of people frustrated over everything that's going on, but I have enough faith in my fellow statesmen to not lose their head. However, I think that our Constitution was written and set up for 3 separate branches of government with a bicameral legislative branch.
Uh-huh.
Our governor has stopped communicating with that legislative branch. So in a sense, she is running the show by herself.
and not
Which
accepting
is
input.
essentially a dictatorship. You've got one person running
And
a situation that was never
unfortunately, the
designed to.
federal government can't do much about it because the way the United States is set up, though we all one nation, we're also at the same time essentially 50 different individual countries that act together on the world stage.
To
an
the
extent.
thought, to an extent, yes. The thought behind the Constitution was states' rights over a centralized government.
That was
You're right.
actually the Constitution is centralized over states' rights. The Confederacy Papers, which did not work, was states over federal.
Yeah, the Articles of Confederation. But
You
that
get-
was the first
Yeah.
draft of
the Constitution.
yeah.
And those, there was actually an excess of freedom. Because what happened, guys, excuse me, sorry. Guys, what you guys gotta understand out there, our listeners, is there's a difference between liberty and freedom. Anarchy is free, complete freedom. Liberty lets you have freedom within a certain bounds, and a liberty is where it says your freedom stops where mine begins. Liberty is allowing for freedom, but not allowing for anarchy.
Right.
That is what liberty is.
However, with that being said, I still think it's important to operate within the bounds of or the guidelines of the Constitution, and that's not being met here, and then also in several other states, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
I was actually listening
I'm-
I was listening to a reading of the Declaration of Independence, and it said that, and actually I will look it up so I can read it real quick. Read the first part here. I wish. Come on. Why do people not ever just post stuff in their entirety so you just read the damn thing?
because that would make things too easy.
Here it is. This is the first part. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, we don't have much liberty. Our lives are in danger. We can't pursue happiness if we're going to lose our homes.
However, I don't condone something as radical as separation, but and I don't know about Indiana.
I have to. Indiana's actually not too bad. Our governor's on a plan to reopen our state by the 4th of July. All of his orders have not had any legally binding anything to them. He has instructed people not to have fines. He has extended people the ability to have a 6-day extension on their driver's license and license plate expirations.
Mm-hmm.
My governor is taking a do this as it goes approach. Because before he was going to open everything back up, he was only doing stay-home orders every 2 weeks. He wasn't going to do it a month ahead because he says, we're going to watch the numbers, and every 2 weeks I will decide whether to extend it or start the open-up process. Well, he decided to start the open-up process.
See,
in everywhere but the most heavy-hit places, because he finally saw, I'm doing more harm than good with the harm to the economy.
Well, see, that's the problem in Michigan. Right now in Michigan, because the stay-at-home orders are so strict, there are 5 hospitals in the UP that have closed their doors permanently because they cannot operate because they don't have COVID patients stacked up like Cordwood.
Exactly, and since they can't operate,
they can't
those
do the elective procedures, so
now,
they can't stay open.
Because now those places have no hospital.
So in a sense, it's gotten so bad. The economy here has gotten to such a shambles that medical personnel. Remember at the beginning, medical people were all the rage, and they were our knights in surgical
because
garb.
Most medical personnel are around for elective procedures. They have been laid off, either temporary or permanently, until the end of this situation.
Right, because most places in the state of Michigan don't have people stacked up like hardwood. The hardest hit areas were downstate, but and granted, downstate, yeah, large cities, they account for a large population, but you got the Upper Peninsula, which in 5 counties haven't had a single case. You've got Traverse City. I mean, I don't know the most current numbers, and I don't suppose anybody does because, like I said, the data has been so skewed. However, it's not. I severely doubt that it's to the point where this has to continue.
Oh yeah, no. You see, here's the thing. They tried to say the math with the spread rate would mean everybody would be infected within a month. We've now found that there were cases in China in December.
Yeah.
So if everyone's going to be infected in a month, we don't start lockdown until 3 months later.
Shouldn't have everyone already been infected?
Yeah, that's kind of
Right.
my thing too. None of the math we are being given adds up to even the smallest amount of scrutiny.
Well, think about it this way. Right now in Michigan, we are denied the right to go into a store without wearing a mask, but we don't have actual masks. We have bandanas over our face. We have, whatever.
And what if you don't have anything and you need to go to the store to get something to put over your face?
I seen a guy walk into a store with a beer case cut out over his, with eye holes cut out so he could see through, but it was a freaking Miller Lite box.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
You're telling me that you're going to sit there and tell me that that's going to stop a virus?
Well, if it's got a good thick plastic lining on the outside on that, film, you might just catch everything because it's pretty solid.
Yeah, but
see, I
you're
think
talking
it's all
about a
like
microscopic virus.
A for show thing. Like, I think people want us to believe, oh, everyone's wearing a mask. We'll be fine. It's all hunky dory.
The
it's
thing
security
is,
theater.
This was blown so far out of proportion, and I haven't even gotten to my main theories. Because
yeah, but I thought, I do
think
before we go down that rabbit hole, I hate to say it, I'm sorry, Cody, but I do believe, and we can kind of talk in the same vein about the person on the should and shooting people about the mask thing. But I wanted to mention the killer hornets real quick.
Yeah, and we're also at 25 minutes already, and we have not even touched on most of the stories yet.
So, yeah. You know what, Cody? Maybe I've got Thursday and Friday off, guys. So maybe one of those days we'll have to all get on here and we can just have a theories about coronavirus episode.
Yes.
Does that work for everybody?
I went on Facebook today, and there was an article on the killer hornets that supposedly I read that it's killed like 42 to 50 people in, I believe it came from Japan, somehow got to North America.
Per year. 40 to 50 people per year.
And people were saying that they were like, oh, well, it's the fucking second coming of Revelations, or, this shit's been around like years ago, but no one fucking said anything till now, or all these other conspiracies.
No, here's what probably happened. It probably, in this course of everything going on, a few of those things probably hitched a ride on a boat from Japan or Asia, whatever, because it's called the Asian giant hornet. And it is deadly to humans, and they do feast on the bodies of bees and whatnot. And I would be concerned for the bee population in those areas. But here's the thing. It's typically a tropical bee hornet, which means, guess what? Unless it can move south far enough, fast enough to escape the cold of next winter, after this summer, we aren't going to have to worry about it.
So, like, when we say that the venom is deadly to humans, like, if this thing stung you, would you, like, instantly die? Or how does this work?
It's like cobra venom. It attacks red blood cells and causes them to be destroyed. It destroys your blood. Just like King Cobra venom.
So is there any hope to, like, get rid of the venom? Or, like, what, you just die?
Maybe if you're close to hospital with antivenom, but I don't think we have antivenom for those hornets in America. But here's the thing.
Okay.
Only 50
Okay.
people die a year in Asia, where there's a much larger population. So I wouldn't worry about it unless you live right next to where it's happening.
I just looked at this. Okay, and as bad as the killer hornet is, or whatever the killer bee, yes, that situation is bad. However, in context, an average of 62 people die per year, with the highest number of 89 by regular bee stings.
Yeah,
People
pretty
die.
much.
The thing with life is everybody dies. So
Yeah.
we can't get caught up and tripped up with, oh my God, this little thing,
Well,
it could kill me, because the
it's
reality
like
is
that
you could walk
old
out
college.
tomorrow
Yeah,
and
it's
get hit by a car or something.
It's like that old College Humor video that they did with the guy with the skull. It was like, we think it's going to kill you from A to Z. It says S is for sunscreen, but also the sun. Both give you cancer. Isn't that fun?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's literally 1,000 ways to die every day.
And there was a series about that. Most of them were made up, but it was still entertaining as hell.
Well, but they were based off of real life instances. I mean,
Actually, they weren't. Most of them were not. That was just part of the show's gimmick. I looked it up. Most of it was made up.
I did look up a few cases, like the guy that got caught in the wood chipper, and the woman that got electrocuted by stepping into a puddle.
Yeah.
Those things actually happen. I mean, inherently there's danger to living, but that doesn't mean bottle ourselves up.
Life is a terminal illness.
Yeah, I mean, you're dying from the day you're born.
Some just finish faster than others.
So there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to board yourselves up, because honestly, the politicians who are making the laws that are boarding us up, they're not losing money. It's no sweat to them.
And when this virus is completely gone, you think the politicians are just going to give up that power?
Well, look at Gretchen Whitmer. I mean, I touching on this again. Yeah, she's pretty much cyclical, and she's tried to block every attempt
to rein her in.
You know, to the point of there's a million signatures and a recall ballot, and they're actually campaigning. There's 3 Democratic gubernatorial candidates that are campaigning for her recall election.
Yeah.
FYI. I mean,
yeah.
People are starting to take things back from COVID, and now all of a sudden, now the killer bee.
Yeah, it was to scare people
again.
Scratch
my head a minute.
It was to scare people again. And though you may be scared, remember, people, there's a difference between taking up against a government out of control. It's another thing because the government and everyone asks you to wear a mask inside to wipe your snot on an employee's shirt or shoot somebody.
Yes,
okay,
don't do that.
There is crossing a line into unacceptable behavior.
I have to ask this. We've really gotten to the point where we're going to wipe our snot on people over a mask? I mean, first off, that's just disgusting to start with. Not even taking into consideration the amount of germs that we're spreading.
That's just disgusting when there isn't a pandemic going on.
And second, really, we've sunk so low that it's a good idea now to shoot somebody for asking for a mask?
I think it happened in Flint, so I'm honestly not that surprised.
I mean, yeah, I think it did happen in Flint, but really, that is what our mentality has come to.
This is on the same level of okay, guys. This is on the same level of stupid as the ghetto being trashed because everyone's joining gangs, selling drugs, shooting each other, and robbing the liquor store every night, and claiming that our neighborhood shit because you're all a bunch of racists. It's on about the same level stupid as that.
It actually it does break down both somewhat of a subculture. I mean,
yeah,
those particular people are a subculture and they have their own problems. Stereotypically, they're minorities, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
You see, it's not the majority of people in those areas that do this. Enough of them do it though to ruin it for everybody else.
Right, and that's how you get the bad names.
And those guys get the guys who aren't doing it to think that we're not in this because the gang's down the street. We're in this because that guy isn't doing enough for my race. And by the way, I actually know a guy at work who's African American. He actually told me he was shamed by his gangbanger brother for going and getting a real job and not gangbanging with him. The man is a hard worker and a respectable member of society, and I'm glad to call him my friend at work.
But that's the cultural differences that we've seemed to have come upon. And the shocking thing is that our culture has been flawed so much that taking somebody's life is more important than not going into a store or to just put on a mask. I mean, it's inconvenient, it's ridiculous. Trust me, I know, and nobody stresses this more than I. But
it's
still,
not worth shooting somebody over. Here in Indiana, there are no mask requirements, okay? Okay, guys, here's how I'm going to tell you this is not as contagious as people would say. I live in a county with 330,000 people. The latest confirmed case count is 630 some. That means I have 0.001% of the population of my county have this thing. 0.001%.
Kind of makes you think, don't it?
If this is so contagious, why didn't we all catch it within the couple of weeks? Because there's 300,000 people going everywhere, interacting with everybody else, pretty densely packed. You have New York with 20, 30 million people alone, and only 40, 50,000 cases.
Okay, now let me stop you there. One, we don't actually know how many actual cases of COVID there were.
No, there's plenty that recovered. There's plenty that that died in their homes and never knew they had it. So we'll never know the true thing. Okay, so we have. Okay, I just looked up. New York has a population of 8.399 million.
So call it 9 million for.
So 9 million, and I'm just going to look. I know we can't trust the data, but it gives us a good round number.
At least something to work with.
Yeah. They say in New York City, 177,000 confirmed cases out of 9 million. Now, for you guys out there who do not understand, 100,000 is 10% of a million. Okay? There's 9 million people in New York. You have not even reached 10% of the population. You're not even really. I don't think you're even close. You might be reaching 1% at this point. Maybe.
And of those 1%, how many actually recover, which leaves how many actual deaths, and it's minuscule.
It doesn't say how many recovered, but it does say how many deaths. 19,419 in New York State. The whole state is 319,000 cases.
319,000 cases in the entire state of well over 9 million.
Yeah. Oh, and worldwide we have 3.66 million confirmed cases, 1.2 million recovered, and a whole whopping 257,000 dead.
Now, while the 257,000 might make your head spin,
there are 7 billion people.
You have, that's what I was going to say. You have to take in context the entire population.
No one's taking into context. No one's talking about percentages. No one's talking about what's this and there. They're talking about lethality rates, and they're talking about raw numbers. Like, they're talking about the United States as the epicenter, because we have these highest numbers, but it's like India has barely been hit yet. China's hiding their numbers, and those are the only 2 countries on the planet with more people than ours. The same reason you can't have universal health care in America is the same reason you can't compare our cases to Europe. There are too many people.
Well,
this thing is far worse in Italy than it is here, despite the fact that we have more cases. Because population.
And actually it came out in Italy that most of the people who were listed as COVID deaths, 99% of them were found to actually have had some other medical problem beyond COVID.
That killed them due to the stress in their system.
Right.
Granted,
so it wasn't actually the COVID virus.
with that,
it was
they probably
the
would have.
stress.
With that, the stress and the flu would have probably killed these people.
Right. I mean, you're talking of people weak immune systems, elderly. Italy has by far one of the higher numbers of elderly people.
Yeah, and there have been some cases where people have no apparent pre-existing condition that have died from this. But you know what? There are people that die from the flu for no good reason.
But there was one other point that I was going to remind us too, is when we were talking about this. The other reason, the other thing was how many people got sick in December, January, before this thing was a big media social.
Well, that's what it comes back to for me. The coronavirus, the family coronavirus, is, well, the common cold is in the family. And then they went and called this SARS-2, even though it's not the same virus, nor does it attack you in the same way. Well, that name kind of implies them trying to use this to promote fear.
Well, it is similar to the SARS. SARS was severe acute upper respiratory.
And it attacked the heart, too.
But it attacked the upper respiratory system. And this virus does do that. It does attack.
Oh, yeah, but here's the thing. They could have called it something else with, the same kind of connotation, that attacks the upper respiratory system, But now they're calling it SARS-2 instead of just calling it COVID-19. Everyone's adding even if you kept it in the scientific journals, they made sure to add that extra part because it helped to add to the scale in the media.
Right.
They could have just called it COVID-19 or coronavirus, but everyone was remember, the media was putting it out as SARS-2, SARS-2, SARS-2.
And guys, if you tune in on, what did we say, Friday night we were going to do this?
It'll probably be a live show, a special bonus episode live show.
If you guys tune in on Friday, I've got some pretty decent theories about all of this that we'll get a chance to.
And of course, we have also been co-opting this entire episode from Laura, who's the one who wanted to do this today.
Yeah,
Laura, any input from you? Sorry, we got on a tangent here.
No, it's fine. So with the stories that we've brought up, we basically talked about everything. We didn't really go in too much detail about the whole Wendy's taking burgers off the menu.
Well, we went into the whole food thing, and that is pretty much what's causing that.
Yeah.
So
my boyfriend ended up getting freaked out about it, so he went back to Meijer today to stock up on some meat.
Probably not a bad idea. Because I live in a Kroger area, and Kroger has also talked about rationing how much meat you can buy.
I think that they have signs saying that you can only take so much each meat.
And what sucks, guys, is I eat a lot of banquet mega meal 3 Salisbury steak TV dinners with meat in them. Those are going to be hard to come by.
And this is where it's great being a redneck. This is where it's great being a redneck because I got about 500 rounds of ammo, a 12-gauge shotgun, and a deer rifle.
But it's not season right now.
It's small game season.
And Laura, guess what? In an emergency situation, just make sure you don't leave anything for the DNR to track you down. You really think they're going to find you? They're really going to find you unless you are touting that you went and got this big buck? If you're out on your own property or even in the backwoods up there, you take down one, stick it in the back of your truck, in the bed of your truck, cover it with a tarp, and do your bed, and put a tarp in the bed too, so the blood doesn't leak out your tailgate driving down the road, so they can't tell. Drive it to your house, butcher it at home. Oh yeah, I killed that one during hunting season.
Well, I don't condone this, but in a true life or death situation, we can follow the 3 S's. Shoot, shovel, and shut up.
Yeah, I'm not sitting here telling everyone to go out right now and hunt off-season. there is a reason that we hunt in seasons, because it helps keep the populations stable.
Yes,
Enough
we,
for us
we
to
don't
hunt, but not enough for them to take all the resources.
we don't hunt during the breeding seasons, and that's important for maintaining a
Very
healthy
important.
population.
It's important that we do not overhunt game. But in a life or death situation, your family's going to starve. I'm sorry, Bambi, but I ain't going to be checking if you have horns.
Yeah, right.
That's the whole point of that thing, though. But
Hey, maybe we should stop talking about this. I think Laura might be getting a little squeamish.
I'm fine with it.
Oh,
but
okay, we're good then.
back to what I was saying earlier when I was reading the Declaration of when I was reading Paul's Declaration of Independence. And if I get a little more into this, and we'll talk more.
I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll talk. We can keep going with Laura being right back because she's really not giving input, anyways. But here's this one part I said. I wanted to keep going. They are endowed with the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely effect their safety and happiness. And prudence is indeed, essentially, you shouldn't be abolishing government for any minor offense. It says to be prudent in exercising this right. But let's see here. They've been denying us our freedom of speech. There's extreme corruption in the government. They're using this lockdown to seize more power. They've been trying to take away our firearms, tell us what we can say, think, feel, believe, taxing us into oblivion, illegal taxes, constitutional amendments that were never properly ratified, the income tax. Property taxes are essentially outright making illegal private property. And guess what? Civil forfeiture is a direct violation of your Fourth Amendment right to due process, and is outright theft.
I think it was Reagan who had an eloquent way of speaking, but I think he said something to the effect of a politician shouldn't become a politician for money, but if they have money at the end of it, they're the ones you should be looking at.
No shit. Also, Ronald Reagan, I do believe, gave orders to all NCOs in the military that that if the government were to become tyrannical, they ought to go rogue and begin a guerrilla campaign to retake this country from those who have corrupted it. I do believe. I heard that somewhere. Granted, whether or not they would go with that or just stay with the military, because I hate to tell people in the military, everyone thinks a lot of the military guys will turn around and go against their own government. Problem is, a lot of people who are in there have been put into the you follow orders and don't think too much about it. Although that might change if they're doing it at home to their neighbors. But I see either revolution or civil war coming. I hope it doesn't, because it'd be extremely destructive. But I have to ask these people, these armed protesters and whatnot, where were you when they were taking our gun rights? Where were you when they were stealing off our income with civil forfeiture? Where were you when they were illegally taxing us? Where were you when this happened, this, or 20 billion other things happened? Where were you? They did 20 billion worse things than they're doing now, but it takes this to get you to act because you want to be a law-abiding citizen, air quotes. You know what I mean?
I get you. No, I'm just looking this up. I'm trying to find that quote from Reagan because I thought it was pretty powerful. And I wanted to try and find it.
Also, everyone, do remember, those who gain power, do not soon part with it. People do not give up power, unfortunately. And I hate to tell people, Hitler created a state of emergency, and that's how he got his power. We're damn lucky Hillary did not get into office, because then we'd have the dictator in chief right now. And we all know it. Wouldn't you agree?
The biggest turnoff that as from a voter perspective that made me not want to vote for Hillary was one of her campaign speeches. She made a comment to the effect of, "It is not the parent's responsibility to parent the child; it is the state's responsibility to raise the child." And that was enough for me to say, no, I don't think this is the direction that we want to go.
Yeah, I hate to be the one to say this, but to those in government who wish to come take my rights and take my freedoms, I will not be the first one to fire. But if you try to invade my home, take me without due process in violation of my constitutional and, if there is a God, God-given rights, in violation of your oath of office and the law itself, I'll treat you like any other intruder that comes in my home trying to do me harm. And that's where I'll leave that, because any more descriptions could be potentially used against me.
Well, folks, I am sorry, but I could not find it at this time. I will try to.
It was probably an offhand remark in an old speech.
Well, I do think that that's where it was from, and I was actually going to take some time to try to watch some of the speeches and see if I could pull the quote.
Well, maybe we could pull the quote for Friday.
But that's what I was thinking, because I don't think, folks, that I'm going to find it tonight.
But that's the whole point, though, folks, is I don't want to advocate. When I was younger, I was like, let's have a revolution, let's go ahead and have this shooting thing happen. But now that I'm older, funny part is I'm only like 27, and now I'm saying now that I'm older. Wonder what 7 years does to you. And some, life lessons. But now, I want to find a peaceful solution to all this, because the destruction that the violence may bring would be far worse than anything else that we could imagine. So, war should never be thought of as the first solution. It should be the final option when all other options have been exhausted.
However, I still have enough faith in the people and of the system that I don't think that is warranted or necessary.
You have faith in the system? What drugs are you on?
I have faith in the human element of the people.
I have faith in them too. I have faith that when the time truly comes, that they will rise up when necessary. Because if we have the faith that they will never rise up no matter what, then our Second Amendment is kind of useless. But I don't have faith in our government not to cross that line.
The point is not to be sheep. That's the biggest point.
Yeah, the point is
don't be the sheep.
Yeah, don't be the one that starts it.
Well, I was saying don't be the sheep, because it's like don't be the people that just follow blindly.
Oh no, these questions are ones that we must study and confirm and meditate on. And to those of you who believe in a God, pray on them. Because as my co-hosts and many of our listeners understand, I've not been a believer for a long time, but I do believe that in times of crisis, faith in either mankind, your own resolve, a creator, what have you, prayer or meditation, something to allow your mind to process rationally what is going on, is key. And also, you must never lose hope. For as long as you have hope, then there is some way to get out of this. It is only the hopeless that fail or fall into despair. Anyways. Laura, you back?
Yes.
Cody, you still there? I hear a fan or something.
Yeah, I'm stoking my wood stove.
Oh, okay, I was wondering what I was hearing. But anyways, we're at 50 minutes, and I'm not sure what else we have. I could probably go on hours ranting about this subject, but
I think we talked about all the topics, didn't we?
yeah, we did. And we actually stayed enough on topic today. Wow. Hey, that's surprising.
What'd we do?
We actually stayed mostly on topic.
Oh, yeah, because that doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
So should we peace out, or did you already do that?
I'll say peace out. See you guys on Friday. Guess the redneck Cody over there will be back, and maybe Laura will. Whether or not she wants to be part of that show, I don't know yet. Because we're mostly just going to talk about conspiracy theories.
I'm down.
Okay,
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See us
Bye.
all on Friday for another bonus episode. Have a good one.